said we were offered a choice of a honeymoon in Hawaii or funds for an apartment. Well, we obviously needed an apartment because we were living in my little sister's front yard. Excuse me. So we chose to go to the apartment. So we got there. Of course, I'm still having big time drinking issues, blah, blah, blah. So is Diana, actually, because, you know, what choice she had. She kind of joined in with me. And so we were doing quite a bit of drinking. And I was still working at a place called the Chenoweth House. And I'm remembering this because of my dysfunction after Vietnam. I worked there cooking, and I can remember one night, the place got really crowded. I mean, it was swamped. And we had just people running everywhere, going crazy. And my boss was this big Marine, and his name was Phil, and he's a big, heavy guy. And, you know, I mean, we're talking jarhead, ex-drill sergeant, whatever. So I'm just surviving. I'm slipping out the back door to drink vodka just to get through a night of cooking because my nerves were so screwed up from Vietnam. And so I can remember when we were so packed. And that trauma from Vietnam, when it hits me in a really pressure type of situation, my mind just blanks out. I mean, I'll look like straight ahead at somebody and I won't have a clue what they're saying. Well, this big Phil cook guy was telling me as the apprentice cook, dude, put some freaking corn on the plate. And I just stared at him. He said, are you stupid or something? Put corn on the freaking plate. And I just stared at him. So he takes his ladle, scoops out the corn and slams it on the freaking plate. Do that. I just stared at him. And there's something wrong with you, he told me. I'll see you later, Phil. I go walking out of that restaurant. I'm talking Phil's on his own. There's orders everywhere, 15 plates laying there. And I say, see ya. I need a drink. I can't do this. Too much pressure. I could not handle even putting corn on the plate. And so the drinking continues. I just wanted to share that to share that the employment type things, sometimes it'd just be too much mentally, and I just couldn't deal with it. So my personality, I just walk away. I don't care what people think. When you can't do something up here mentally, you have no choice. You just have to leave. And so anyway, we end up, I don't know how I got there, but we end up in this apartment. And, I know why, because I was working there. Now I'm not working there. So we're in this little apartment. So we're drinking a lot and we're making noise like crazy. And they kicked us out of there. Kind of shocked me. But anyway, right before they kicked us out of there, Diana suggested I get into paint by number for my mental. She'd give me a big bottle of wine and I'd just paint by number these little paintings. And that's how I dealt with life, kind of, because she's an artist. She still is. But so I kind of enjoyed that. Some number 4 brown and fill it up, drink a wine. I was doing great doing that. And so a knock on the door came. And I think it was Christmas Eve, I think. And a knock on the door comes out. Who the H is that? Because I was not social. I don't want to talk to anybody, let alone cops. I answer the door and it's cops. Christmas Eve. Dude. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking about a lot of things I'd be arrested for from the past. I'm thinking, oh, shoot. Just caught up with me here on some issue. I'm going to jail. But they asked for Diana. I'm going, does Diana live? They said, did Diana live here? And she runs in the back room and she's hiding. And I go, Diana, we have a warrant for her arrest. A warrant for my wife's arrest on Christmas Eve. Are you kidding me? You got the wrong freaking address, dude. I was half lit from drinking wine. Do we have to get a warrant? Come in after. I said, what warrant do you have for her? What are you talking about? And she's hiding in the back room, scared to death. Well, she didn't pay a ticket. Or it was something.
It's a bill.
Or a bill or something. We're going to arrest her on Christmas Eve. And do you guys have anything better to do on Christmas Eve? Out arresting my little wife? You have her horrified. She's hiding in the back room. So let me go talk to her. So I go talk to her. I can't go to jail. She's freaking out. I'm not going to jail. She starts crying. I said, I'll have you out in a half hour. You wuss. I said, you aren't going to stay in jail. And I said, what are they talking about? What do you mean you didn't pay a bill? Is that true? You convict?
I was so excited when we got married. I missed a bill.
She missed a bill. I thought, I'm married to a crook. So I said, come on, you're going to jail and I'll get you out, you know. So I bring her out and I go, okay, Columbo and tough guys, here you go. You're gonna cuff her too? I don't think they did they? No, they didn't cuff her. No. They took her and they put her in I think they even put you in the front seat, didn't they? They put her in the back. So anyway, I'm going, what the H is going on? So tell them what happened at the precinct.
Well, what was so funny, I was trying to think when you said in the other episode that they had said she's trouble. You know, I had never been in trouble, but right before we met, I got a DUI, which in those days was a 25-1032C or something, drunk driving. And that's probably what they were saying is I had gotten a DUI. And as part of my things that I had to do, I had to pay bills. Well, when we eloped and got married, I was so excited. I was under court order to send in $50 once a month or whatever.
If I had known that, I'd have never married you.
No doubt.
Crook. Go ahead.
But so here when they knocked on the door, here you had this ex-crazy violent veteran, the things that I didn't know and all you'd been through. And here we are. We think we're being all chill. You were sitting there doing a little paint by number, sipping a single glass of wine. You're not annihilated. Nobody's dropping acid. Those days are long gone. And here they came and said, we're going to arrest you on Christmas Eve because you forgot to pay a bill, and wouldn't let me pay him right then. So I cried, tried to get out of it. They did put me in the back of the car, not the front. I was so embarrassed. Both my parents were teachers in town. Very humiliating, smaller town, 17,000 when I first moved there. And so as I was being walked into the precinct, these two guys came up, and here was this little girl with this little curly hair standing there in her jeans and her sweatshirt. And the guy goes, what'd you get her for? And the guys that are like clocking me in and taking my mugshot, right? And he said, oh, she missed paying a bill. And they were like, oh, this is really a tough one, huh? And that's how I was feeling. And then I think you went to some friends that we had and figured out a way to get me bailed out.
You weren't working as a waitress anymore. You started working at Anita's as a clothes manager. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, one night we had a fight in this little that apartment was tiny. I'd say 200 square feet. I mean, it was that small and really inexpensive. But we newlyweds. I was still a complete freaking nut, and she had her issues. So we got too loud and they kicked us out of there. So, we got to find a new place. And so we moved across the street from my little sister, literally across the street. And I started to landscape. I became a landscaper. My brother, the bartender, got me a job with this CHP, who was also a landscaper. He had like 2 jobs. And I remember his name was Bob. Anyway, I started working with Bob Lee. And I can remember I hurt my knee, and all I did was stand up out of a trench putting PVC pipe together, and my knee popped and swelled up like a balloon. And by then, you were now working at that little school, working with disabled little kids.
An OH school.
And so I was landscaping, she was at an OH school. And so I get hurt to the point where I'm literally crawling to work because I couldn't walk. So I'm down in these trenches, I crawl to work, putting pipes. And what happens, my brother was a salesman in Clovis, California. A really good salesman. Well, he cracked up nerves. He was selling too many cars in he had a nervous breakdown, literally. So he was up visiting me landscaping for this CHP cop. And I told him, I said, dude, this guy, he's going to make 10 grand on this job right here. After expenses, he's going to make $10,000. No way. I said, yeah, dude, there's a lot of money in this stuff, landscaping. Well, how much do you know about it? I said, I know how to do it. So if you move up here from Clovis, I'll teach you how to do it, and you fund all the equipment, blah, blah, blah. So he said, oh, yeah. He said, let's do that. So he moved up here, and we landscaped until I taught him all he knew. He ended up doing it for like 30 years. I think he's still doing it. It made his living. But I was landscaping, and since I got hurt bad like that, we were out of money. I mean, we didn't have a bowl of rice. We lived across the street from my little sister. And Diana came home one day from this taking care of these little folks. And she said, would you be interested in doing this? What? Are you crazy? So I've done construction my whole life. I don't know how to work with handicapped kids. I was a framer of houses, worked in plastering, did roofing, did every kind of construction there is. So I'm used to hard labor and that kind of work. I don't even know what you're talking about. So she said, well, things are getting like really bad. We have no money. And she was working, and it was just part-time, I think. And so she was looking at an ad in the paper, and she goes, hey, there's an ad for caregivers for these kind of handicapped folks. Would you be willing to go out and at least meet the lady and come with me to go check this out? So I said, well, I don't know. I don't have a feeling one way or the other. So she talked me into it, and we drove out there, and the lady took us into this nursery, and I mean, we're talking infirm folks, 6 of them in this little tiny area, and they were just like, to normal people, they were like, oh my God, this poor little person, right? I mean, just disfigured, all of them really bad. And Diana told me, look in their little eyes. Look in their spirits. They're people. They're human beings. Look in their little eyes and don't look at the deformities. And so in this room, I start tripping. I'm looking at these little people, and they don't talk right now. So I start talking to them, and they start giving me these little reactions and stuff to things I said. And I really quick got over the physical infirmities and start actually tripping watching these little people. What do they do? I remember we named this one little guy Spider-Man. He would climb all over his cage, and there was a net over it to contain him to that area. And his name was Richard, and Diana called him Baby Bird. But anyway, just cool little people. And so the lady comes back and says, what do you think about the job? And well, what's it entail? Well, we'll pay you back in that day $600 a month and free room and board, brand new mobile home. To us, that looked pretty good for where we were at. This tiny little piece of house. And so I said, they're going to pay us $600 cash to dress these little people and feed them and change them. Is that right? Yeah, but you have to take care of the grounds. You have to mow the lawns and stuff. And I looked at her and I said, brand new, that's a brand new home, brand new mobile home. So I said to her, well, what's your question? Let's do it. We didn't have much of a choice. But we went into that business. You were going to college at the time also? Right.
I started taking classes, over in Porterville. It was a summer. We had a Volkswagen, no air conditioning, and I would drive
110 degrees, I remember.
40 minutes, and I was pregnant with our first, the story of...
You gave it away.
Oh.
We were fishing. We went fishing doing this job.
We had
a day off. We went fishing. I was fishing for trout and whatever. We were leaving, and she got really sick. And, of course, we didn't know why. And I don't know yeah. She'd been pregnant before in her life. And so she knew what that felt like. She goes, oh my gosh, I think I'm pregnant. What? You're pregnant? She says, yeah, I think so. And so we found out she was pregnant. So she's driving back and forth to college in 110-degree weather in this little Volkswagen. And I'm worried about her. And she was smoking cigarettes in, so she quit immediately when she found out she was pregnant because of the health of the baby. Mm-hmm. So she quit smoking, and we went on. She's getting more pregnant. And we had this friend that was a nurse that would come and update things and check on us. How are the folks doing? That kind of thing. And he said, you guys, you know what? You guys are really good at this work. And he said, he'd been in the business for 40 years. You guys need to get out of here and go do this on your own. You'll get 6 times the money, 6 times the pay. And this lady, I don't really like her that much that you're working for. So I don't want you getting too caught up with her. You should get out of here to cover yourself. His name was Bill. Bill, how the heck we do that? All you got to do is go rent a house in Porterville. I'll place the folks you already have in here. In other words, rip them off from this lady, and I'll place them with you guys. That'll immediately give you an income of like $3,000 or something back then. And then once you get in this rental house, I'll place some more folks in there, and you guys will be solid. You'll be in the care business. So we thought, hey, that sounds cool. So we started looking in Porterville, and we found a little rental. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, just that I hadn't had Isaac yet. We hadn't had Isaac. We got the new little house in Porterville. What had kind of preceded the whole offering us the folks was that this woman had entered the care industry for developmentally disabled when in that industry it had gone from literally just letting people out of a hospital in Porterville that took care of very, very infirm folks who were called a level 4 facility. And there was a day and age where they didn't have day programs. The folks were not involved in anything. As people may or may not know now that it's come up to where people have full programs, people that are higher functioning may get married, may this, may that. But back in the day, this woman was not taking tip-top care of her folks. And when we agreed to work for her, they placed some folks with us that were already there, and they were doing so well. We had a kid, the one baby bird had bed sores that were gone within literally 3 weeks by just being changed enough and this and that. So we had gone to a meeting at the local regional center, and the reason they had offered us the folks and said something needs to happen at that facility was that because of the way things were being done there, that they weren't happy with what was going on. And she had decided out of nowhere she was going to fire us and have her truck driving husband come in and take over our facility. And so we went in for this meeting, and she had been telling us that she was going to give us a whole third home, all these things. And then we get in front of this meeting, and she goes, I'm firing the Nickells. And I want Jay to take over whatever. Well, it was crazy. And so that's when this nurse said, hey, you guys need to do your own thing. So we ended up, he said, and we said, well, where would we get a facility that would pass community care licensing? And he said, you know what? There's a woman who just retired in Porterville, and she's got a home that's a 3-bedroom, and you guys could have it. And so next thing we knew, we went from literally making just a little bit, taking care of folks for someone else, to heading that direction.
As you guys know, we weren't honored when we returned from Vietnam. We weren't treated too nice, but I didn't really care. I just wanted to get home alive. But after, 40 years or whatever it was, my wife did an interesting, funny thing. She woke me up at 5 a.m. one day and said, get ready, we're going to catch a plane 45 minutes from where we live. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, we're flying to Washington, D.C., and this is the only way she could do this, because she knows I would have never went for that. flying all the way to Washington, D.C. And I said, what's this about? What do you mean, Washington, D.C.? And she says there's a honor thing that's called honor flight to honor veterans. And you fly to Washington, D.C., and you get to see all the monuments, and they receive you with open arms, and they give you gifts, and it's really cool. They have a bunch of little kids, and they make these 2 lines, and they high five you when you walk through there and tell you welcome home, because we never got a welcome home. But it was really cool. We had police escorts in buses, and we got to see all the monuments, meet other veterans, and it just blew me away. So I think you guys ought to check into it, because it was really cool. And of course, my wife got to go with me, and this is what they gave us to wear while we were on the tour. And I just thought this would be cool to share with you guys, to look it up and check it out. It's really a cool thing to do after all these years. Thank you.